Hello everybody, so today we're gonna make pasta matta. Pasta matta literally translates into crazy paste, crazy dough. And I will explain to you later on why it's called that way. This is pretty much a dough. It's a very simple dough which contains olive oil instead of butter, as most other, doughs and pastes will be like generally in the rest of the world. But as you know, here in Italy we love our extra virgin olive oil, so we kind of, we use that more than butter. So with this dough, there are many different recipes that you can make. There are many vegetable pies that you can make using this dough, which come out really nice. And it's kind of, you stretch it out really thin. It's almost like a phyllo pastry, but not quite, not that thin. This is not really the way we use it here. I will show you how to make this dough, how to let it rest, and how to let it become really super stretchy and elastic and absolutely fantastic to use. And I will use it for a recipe for focaccia di Recco. Focaccia di Recco is not a very well-known recipe around the world. And to be honest with you, I think not even in Italy quite so much. But it's absolutely lovely and it's something fantastic. I'm sure that once you'll make it at home, once you'll be able to get a chance to taste it, you'll really fall in love with it. Here in the region of Liguria, which is where we're making these videos, is very famous and it's very popular. So let's go ahead and make this dough. And then later on, I will show you how to make a very nice focaccia di Recco. Okay, so the ingredients we're gonna need today to make this dough are actually super simple. So here, I'm gonna use two different types of flour. I've got a 00 flour, which I've explained to you before, is a very fine flour, yeah? And this is gonna help our dough to become really elastic and really nice and smooth. All the particles will be not grainy at all because it's really fine. Also here we have Manitoba flour. This is how we call it here in Italy. It's sort of like it's an American flour. It's a very strong bread flour, but it also contains potato flour inside of it, which eventually will make your bread or whatever it is you're gonna make with the dough that you will make using this flour a little sweeter, because you're gonna have the sweetness from the potatoes inside it. Also here we've got some very simple water, our very loved Italian extra virgin olive oil, a bit of salt and a bit of sugar as well, which is gonna help our dough become a little sweeter and nicer. So right, we're gonna go ahead and mix all of these ingredients together. So there's no real way, no real order to sort of follow as you're making this dough. It doesn't really matter, as long as you get everything mixed in together pretty nicely. So the ratio we're gonna have between the two flours is pretty much 3/4 of the dough will require Manitoba flour, which is a stronger flour, and only 1/4 will be of 00 flour. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm doing this by eye because I know how to do it, but I will give you a recipe, and the recipe will absolutely work anytime you make it. This is about a good amount of 00 flour that I'm gonna need for this dough today. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and put our Manitoba or American flour. Generous pinch of sugar. Again, don't be too generous. It's not a sweet pastry, yeah? It's gonna be a salty pastry, but a little bit of sugar, it's just gonna balance out the flavor and just also help it caramelize as it's cooking and get a lovely golden brown color. Next, we're gonna have our salt. Same thing, generous amount. You want this dough to be, savory enough. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start mixing this a little bit, yeah? Because as I put the oil inside the flour, I'm gonna get a few lumps, yeah? It's not gonna mix in, the oil is not gonna mix in with the flour straight away. It's gonna try sort of, to absorb it on the outsides, but still stay intact in the middle. So I'm just gonna break that down and, allow all the oil to absorb the flour, yeah? Put your hands in the flour, start feeling it, yeah? Put some passion into it. This is how we do it in Italy, yeah? And now I'm gonna go ahead and add my water. So I'm gonna start with only a little bit. Remember, I will give you a recipe that will definitely work, but still, I would like you, once you go and repeat this recipe at home, to have a feel of what you're doing. The quantities will make a good dough, but I would like you to, as you put your hands inside it, feel, oh, this seems too dry, this seems too wet, adjust it to your liking, but really get a feel of what you're doing. Now my dough is starting to become a little wetter. Okay, so now my dough is quite wet, and what I'm doing here is I'm allowing the parts which have absorbed a bit more water to go to the sides and catch all that flour which is still quite dry. Yeah, fantastic. My hands are a bit dirty. I've cooked all my flour with my dough inside my bowl, but it is a tiny bit too wet. Now this is not a problem, actually it's quite good. I will say it's always a lot better to have a dough that is too wet because you can still add flour to it than the opposite. Yeah, it's just I can't explain it precisely how this works chemically, but if the dough is too dry from the start, it's gonna struggle too much to become elastic or fluffy, if you're adding yeast to this to make focaccia or whatever. So it's always better to have a wetter dough and then slowly add flour to your liking to reach the best consistency. So this is good. Dough on the table, a little touch more flour, and now I'm gently massaging this in order to get this dough to absorb this flour. So again, try to be direct but also gentle. Yeah, the more gentle you are with any pastry, any dough you make, the nicer it will be eventually. Yeah, so as you can see here, I'm starting to fold it, to stretch it and fold it back on itself. Yeah, and just keep doing this until your dough becomes really smooth. Okay, so as you can see, it's still a little bit wet, but again, it's not a problem. I'm just gonna keep adding flour little by little, little by little. So again, stretch and fold, stretch and fold, and stretch and fold. Right, so what I'm doing now is I'm opening it to get the center to come out, because the center of the dough is the one that will be wetter. And this will make it a lot easier to catch those bits from my table. So what we're doing now is we're gonna roll this into a nice little bowl. I'm gonna place it onto my tray, and now I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna let it rest for at least 2 hours. And then afterwards, I'm gonna show you how to work this.